All right, let's get the first top voice on the show. We've spoken about the economy. Let's get in the WTO chief economist, Mr. Ralph Ossa, on the show to first talk about the kind of growth estimates the WTO, the World Trade Organization, has for 2024 and 2025. Mr. Ossa, what are the findings, sir?
We predict the volume of merchandise trade to grow by 2.7% this year and 3.0% last year, which is only a small change from our April forecast. But what has changed is the regional composition. Europe is weaker than we expected, and Asia is stronger than we expected, but overall it balances out. Services trade growth is also strong. We don't have a forecast, but the data that we have seen already for the first quarter of 2024 were very strong, indicating a growth in services trade by 8%.
You mentioned Asia is doing better than you had expected. So could you give us some breakup about India as far as the Asia pie is concerned?
I expect Asia to be the strongest performing region, with Asian exports growing by 7.4% this year and 4.7% next year. We don't have a specific forecast from India, or for India, but from the data that we have seen, India is expected to be very strong, both on the import side as well as on the export side. And part of the reason is also that India is increasingly functioning as one of these connector countries between China and the United States, for example, as firms are trying to diversify out of China.
Okay, you mentioned US. It is the world's largest economy. There have been concerns about a possible recession. Does the WTO share those concerns?
We see North America doing pretty well, both on the import side and as well as on the export side. So if you look at imports, for example, we expect North American imports to grow by 3.3% this year and 2.0% next year in value terms. We don't have a specific forecast for the United States, but the United States, of course, plays a very important role in that region. One interesting development in North America is also that we see a lot of activity in Mexico, in some ways similar to India, also becoming a connector country between China and the United States.
Okay, but then let me also ask you about, sir, the kind of trade tensions and disruptions that one is seeing. Do you see that having a spillover in terms of global trade? Could the present tensions in the Middle East act as trade disruptors?
The geopolitical tensions are the main risk to the forecast, and in general, I should say that the risks to this forecast are firmly on the downside. Of course, if there were an escalation of tensions in the Middle East beyond what we already see, this could have implications on energy markets, which then would have implications on economic activity and also trade. What we already see, and this is not now because of the tensions in the Middle East, but something we've been seeing for a while, is a fragmentation of trade along geopolitical lines, where trade between geopolitically aligned countries is growing more quickly than trade between geopolitically non-aligned countries. What we don't see, however, and that's quite interesting, we don't see nearshoring, so we don't see a regionalization of trade, but we see what is sometimes called friendshoring, which is a reorganization of trade around geopolitical lines.
All right, Ralph Ossa, thanks much for speaking to me on India Sense.